Hello. Welcome, everyone. It's great to see you all here in this cold and rainy night. So thanks for coming for our event, Measuring Wellbeing for Inclusive Prosperity. I'm Paula Simões, and I'm one of the co-chair of SIMNA alongside Maxine Morrison, that is also here. Thanks, Paul Ramsey Foundation, for the beautiful acknowledgement of country. I would also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet tonight, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I pay my respects to the elders past and present, and any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island people here with us tonight. I also acknowledge the traditional owners of land where our online attendees are joining from us, which we have around 40 people. And thank you, Paul Ramsey Foundation. We from SIMNA have been looking forward to this event. Our wellbeing framework is an approach that is gaining traction and is crucial for the continuation of all human species, human beings and species on this planet. This event has been made possible by the Paul Ramsey Foundation, who have organized this beautiful venue and provided fantastic support throughout the days leading to tonight. They're also providing the canapés and refreshments for after the talks as well. I also want to thank all the SIMNA volunteers from the SIMNA Organising Committee, and especially Amber, for helping with all the small details, the documents and the logistics that is needed to organize such an event. It takes a whole team to run those events, and we're all volunteers. So especially thank you for donating your time and expertise. For those online, we don't have a chat enabled, the chat's not able, but you have the Q&A function. So if you have questions, please put your questions in the Q&A function, and we will curate and then ask later on. So I'm guessing that most people here tonight are interested in discussing an alternative economic indicator that not only relies on GDP, but also takes human well-being into account. Human well-being goes beyond human health, includes living standards, social cohesion, security and safety, freedom, rights, self-determination, cultural and spiritual fulfillment, and connection to country and nature. So with that in mind, our well-being economy will place people at the center and focus on the long-term sustainability of the environment. Tonight's event has been designed to share information, spark discussions, and brainstorm opportunities for a much-needed well-being economy in Australia. So the speakers will take you through a journey of well-being frameworks implemented overseas, to our Measuring What Matter frameworks in Australia, and finally to understand how we measure the impacts of projects that will contribute to the wellbeing framework. So we have here tonight 3 amazing speakers who are highly qualified in the area to share their knowledge on the wellbeing framework. They also complement each other as they know different aspects of the wellbeing framework and will be able to give us a 360 degrees overview of the topic. So first I will call Katherine here to get started. It gives us an overview of what is happening around the globe in the wellbeing framework space. So please welcome Katherine.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming out. I think you're clearly the very hardy members of the SIMNA community who have braved a wet and rainy Thursday evening as well. So thank you for joining us, and hi for those of you online. And I also want to add my appreciation and respect to any First Nations and traditional owners who are here, and also those where I live and work, which is on Ngunnawal Ngambri country, down the road in Canberra. So Paula has asked me to speak about just really the whole idea of a wellbeing economy and a little bit of a glimpse into what is happening around the world, what countries are doing. You asked me, are there any countries that are doing it? And the bad news is no, but there are lots of different pieces starting to be put into place. So I'm going to give you a very brief tour of that. But let's start with where we are. And today, if you hadn't caught it, today's World Overshoot Day, which means that collectively humanity has now taken more of the world's resources than we create this year. And this quote here, I think, is a really, really profound, almost encapsulation of where we are. And as I say, where we find ourselves. This world in which we're facing, it's not a success, it's not intelligent, it's not beautiful, it's not just, and it's not virtuous. And I think you can add examples and illustrations to that, given the levels of inequality, levels of loneliness, mental health distress, levels of poverty, and the fact that we're collectively as humanity, and of course there's huge inequality in that, but as a humanity, we are pushing Mother Nature beyond what she can handle. And then this quote went on to say, in short, we dislike what we've created here, this economic system, and we are beginning to despise it. And I think we see people, manifesting that despising of the system, and they're reaching for coping mechanisms. Sometimes that's at the pillbox, and sometimes that's at the ballot box with, the rise of populist politicians. And then the quote continues to say, but when we wonder to what to put in its place, we're extremely perplexed. Now, this was John Maynard Keynes writing some 90 years ago. I think now, in 2024, we can start to say we have some ideas in terms of what to put in its place. And the wellbeing economy agenda, in a way, is a little bit like an umbrella term that speaks to all the different beautiful visions that are out there of a different economic system, one that very explicitly serves people and planet. It's about saying it's no longer good enough to see the economy as something to which we need to kowtow to and which the environment can be sacrificed for, but actually we need to think of the economy as a mechanism, as a provisioning system designed to deliver those higher order goals that people and communities and our planet need. It also starts to inoculate against this extent to what many scholars and activists are starting to call failure demand. It's essentially this idea that so much of what different layers of government spend on is a downstream, after the fact response to the collateral damage of the current economic system. And you just need to take a scan of the recent federal budget that came out in May to get a sense of that. Rising money for rent assistance, rising money for disaster relief payments, rising money for mental health treatment and therapy, rising money to help the emergency services respond to increased numbers of natural disasters, rising budgets for community organisations to deal with increased demand. Now, all of that is utterly critical today because it's helping people and planet survive and cope. But the idea of the wellbeing economy is daring to ask, can we do better than that? It's about raising our gaze and saying, can we look at the damage that's being done and understand the root causes and take action there? Another critical factor in the wellbeing economy is about where it focuses the onus of change, where it sees the responsibility to deal with these challenges. And this beautiful cartoon, I think, really encapsulates it, that it's about saying, yes, of course, individuals have agency, but it's not enough just to expect the shoulders of individuals who are really struggling with bigger issues, struggling with a world that's full of inequality and full of environmental breakdown, to take all the responsibility to respond to them, to just say you need to be more resilient, or you need to become more employable, or you need to change your mindset. So the wellbeing economy is also saying, let's train our gaze, not just raise our gaze, but train our gaze on the economic system and design it in a very, very different way. So to get there, we're going to need a whole suite of changes. And Warwick and I have recently published a paper where we talk about those changes as a little bit like a jigsaw puzzle, a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle. And the good news is there are people here in Australia and around the world who are working on different pieces of that jigsaw puzzle. But to grapple with it, just to get a sense of the sorts of changes that you'll need, what do you do when you start your jigsaw puzzle? You so often start with the corners. And so the 4 corners of the wellbeing economy jigsaw puzzle in practice are what we call the 4 Ps. They are purpose, prevention, pre-distribution, and people-powered. We go into more of that in our report, happy to talk about more of that later, but just to give you a really brief sense of it, purpose is about saying, okay, let's understand the difference between means and ends. The economy is as a means, but the ends are about having people and planet thriving and flourishing. It's about social justice on a healthy planet. It's about everyone being able to build the lives they want to live within the means of our planet, our precious natural home. So things like measuring what matters statement are a mechanism to do that, really thinking about what's the purpose of our economy, not just focusing on the pace of GDP growth, but actually unpacking what's the direction and composition of that growth, and is it aligned to what people and planet need. More at the micro level, you'll start to think about the for-purpose business models, many of whom are housed in this building that I was hearing about from George earlier. You all know amazing businesses that are saying, yes, we need to be profitable and we need to be commercially viable, but we want to do so not to make a quick buck, but to deliver some social or environmental benefit. Lots of examples of that, and I'll come back to some later. Pre-distribution is about saying, yeah, government has a role through taxes and welfare transfers to redistribute the gap between rich and poor. But my gosh, that's a heavy lift. So how can the economy, in the terms of how we design market outcomes, deliver more equal distribution of resources in the first place? So things like worker-owned cooperatives, community-owned enterprises, true cost accounting, community wealth building are the sorts of things you'd see in this corner of the jigsaw puzzle. And the final one of people-powered, really making sure that people and communities feel at the forefront of change that's coming about, that they feel that they're in the driving seat of the visioning and the delivery of the sorts of economy we need. Not only because that matters for its own sake, but because, as you'll all probably recognise, we've got many examples of when communities feel done to, they quite understandably dig their heels in. So it's also tactical, to make people feel at the forefront of decisions. So